What genre of movie do you hate the most? Those movies that show a woman in a perfect house, in a perfect neighborhood, with a perfect job, with perfect friends that meets the perfect man and then they fall in love. This genre should kind of disappear. In life, nothing is perfect. Ah, yes, the good old cheap romance between an adult version of the girl next door who thinks she's quirky because she's sarcastic and a player who loves to break hearts and had commitment issues till he met her, without any actual plot except for the fact that they fall in love. She's quirky because she likes old movies, and she quotes classic literature. Obscure novels like Pride and Prejudice are her passion. She has 3 older brothers. So don't you think for 1 second that she's as weak as regular vag owners. Her job? Well, she's a journalist at the New York Times. But she's humbler and betterer than her evil bitch co-workers who are from slightly wealthier families. Did you know that she's had to work hard to become a New York Times journalist? Unlike those other dumb women with their shoes and private helicopters, she loves cooking and isn't ashamed of the fact that she likes to eat food. Chicken wings for days before climbing into her size 2 jeans. One day, she's gonna be a famous author. What does she write, you ask? Fantasy, sci-fi, horror, cookbooks, nay, quirky, edgy, hilarious, witty autobiographical life stories, of course. Wow, he says as he looks at her catching a spider and putting it outside without a man's help. She turns off all the lights and goes to bed. And she doesn't need a night light at all, even though she lives alone, and that's actually pretty scary. He puts down the binoculars and writes down 1 a.m. She goes to sleep. Perfectly encapsulates the entire genre. And I enjoyed every second of it. Thanks, monsieur. You, friendly 5G lizard Jew. The Everybody's Beautiful and Rich perfectly backlit action movie. Live action remakes. I usually feel the same, but I gotta say I was more fond of Detective Pikachu than I'd normally care to admit. Lazy dystopian movies with half-ass character development and cliché plot twists. Children of Men is by far the best dystopian movie. Not a fan of those horror flicks in which things jump out at you. Thanks, Freddy, I've wet myself. Jump scares are the lowest form of horror. I dislike horror in general because it's almost always this crap, and the loud, shrill noise of the jump scare, plus the gratuitous over-the-top gore to add to the scare effect. It's also lame and predictable. It's like a stand-up comedian tickling the audience to make them laugh. Superhero movies. I used to love them, but it's starting to become a bit too much. The horse has been beaten so much it's merely a stain on the ground at this point. Or rather, the cow has been milked dry. It died and turned into previously mentioned horse. Hollywood went way too far in on these, like the fact that there's basically always at least one superhero movie in theaters at all times now says it all. They're way overdone. Musicals. Stoner comedies. If they star Seth Rogen, I hate it even more. Hoo. Movies about lifelong family conflicts, been there, don't need to buy a ticket. For real, dysfunctional family movies hit way too close to home sometimes. I like them because they make me feel normal. Anything sports related, I just can't get into the hype. Try Moneyball. Sci-fi, for example. The movie is about aliens coming to Earth and destroying the place. The US is always the hero. I don't get it. Plus the dialogue is usually wonky and not that interesting. The Earth IRL. Mexico, USA, Japan, Italy, and other varied nations. The Earth in these movies. USA and the rest is the fucking ocean. Target audience. Though you will notice more focus on China of late as they try for that market. High school, growing up themed movies. The actors are just so obviously much older than the characters they're playing. Plus, once you grow up and start to resemble something of an adult, you know, like 30, these kinds of stories are just too cringy. I think it's because it reminds us of how silly we were as actual teens. I just can't relate anymore. I'm beginning to hate action movies. Many are exciting, but most of them use so many tropes. It gets boring. Asterisk any kind of minor damage to a car, it blows up like an atomic bomb. Asterisk fights between heroes villains involve falling down 8 feet to the next floor, getting hit in the head with a wrench or 2x4, and it still takes them 3 minutes to win. Asterisk the villain never dies the first time and always comes back with a jump scare or by blurry movement in the background while camera is focused on the good guys. Asterisk chloroform codeine drugs take effect the instant they are given to somebody. Asterisk silencers make guns absolutely silent. Asterisk hero gets shot or breaks a limb, has some kind of motivational flashback, and comes back to beat down the villain. I got another one. The dramatic gun cock trope. Double the honor for scenes where a loaded weapon gets racked twice and no shells cartridges eject. Ultra gory horror movies. Not actually scary, just gross and disturbing. I am thinking something like The Hills Have Eyes remake. I was never scared, but there's a scene of a zombie creature raping a lady. No tension or suspense. Just yuck. Coming of age stories because it's so fucking overdone and every filmmaker wants you to think they're so deep based on a true story. Patriotic military circle jerks. Faith-based movies. They're cheaply made, have poor acting, even worse dialogue, narratives that are far too convenient to their objective, and all have dumb posters with wispy clouds and golden sun. If someone could name one that is unironically good, I'd be shocked. Dismissing entire genres outright is a shit attitude to have and a great way to miss out on some quality movies. Why does it matter though? People don't need to watch every good movie in every genre. And it's okay to not like quality movies. Like I'm totally cool with never seeing the Godfather movies. I can't imagine my life will reasonably be any different after seeing the Monsieur. I enjoy old musicals. My best friend doesn't. I don't care that she hasn't seen Singing in the Rain. It's fine to not enjoy things and miss out. Michael Bay films. Hallmark. Rom-com. Fuck rom-coms. Dude, they're so bad, oh my god. It's probably cause I'm a guy, but still. Disney remakes. I don't think there are any genres I dismiss out of hand. There are great films in every genre listed so far. Exactly. You almost always lose if you fall to generalization. Parodies of other movie genres. What about Airplane? I'm talking shit like the millions of scary movie sequels, etc. The worst I saw was Vampires Suck. Prob the worst film I've ever seen. I gave up after 10 minutes. Yeah, all those blank movies can fuck off. But I still love Airplane. Movies and parodies were more original back then. Monsieur, now they're just money grabs. Call me a sexist, but these movie series remakes, especially superheroes where they do a remake but make the superhero a woman. Batwoman, Supergirl, the new female Thor, etc. Honestly, I don't like how feminism and other groups seem to have control over a lot of the industry. I get it, they could definitely use more representation, and I don't mind that. I do mind, however, stuff revolving around the Monsieur if you include them. Make them normal people. Not I'm gay so I do gay things and speak in gay voices and talk about how I'm gay. I'm the most special person in the film. Seriously. Make them characters, not beacons of the communities. It just makes them feel shoehorned in and maybe even makes some people hate them because they are tired of them taking over. Emo. True representation is showing that these people are great because they do great things, not because of their gender, sexuality, race, or religion. Sorry for the rant. Female Thor isn't new. Yes. Woke movies. I have no issues with female leads. But why not make up some new stories instead of just making remakes of ones with male leads? Also, don't get me started on the casting of non-white actors for the roles of white figures in historical movies. You wouldn't have a white man playing Martin Luther King. So why should a black man play King Arthur? See our history in dramas. I mean, who TF is seeing all of this shit? Jesus, that's who. Repent, bitch. 1. Romantic comedies. If only both people in the relationship acted like normal, well-adjusted adults, the film would be only 5 minutes long. 2. Historical dramas. Too many of them sacrifice historical accuracy and the truth for the sake of the story. I'm looking at you, Braveheart. What's worse is that the average idiot takes these films as the gospel of what actually happened. Versus, doing their homework. I just got done binge-watching the first 2 seasons of Project Blue Book. I guess it was entertaining enough, better than pulling your hair out one at a time. But the inaccuracies was staggering. The captain saluted at the wrong times. Not saluted at inappropriate times. They called a guy sergeant when he was clearly wearing a lieutenant's bar. If you're going to do a military show, you should at least know the basics of military customs and courtesies. And what rank is what. And then we get into the actual stuff they were supposedly investigating. They couldn't even get half of that right. There was so much creative license that they really should not have put based on actual events that the beginning. Most episodes barely resembled the actual events. I'm no big UFO buff. I'm not trying to sell anyone on any alien stuff. But as a younger man, I was fascinated by this stuff. And I read a lot about it. Watching them mangle basic facts, then try to mix in a few elements of Harbinson's book Genesis, was just cringeworthy. Bollywood, country, Hallmark movies have the same 10 main actors plus the same 4 plot lines. You could make a very generic straight white couple movie where they don't like each other at first, but then something big happens and they realize they're in love, and you have 99% of Hallmark. Also, it seems that every single one of their movies includes Christmas. Anything too romantic. I'm not into that sappy stuff. Romance by itself is fine, but I really despise that soap opera shit. There are some romantic comedies that I like, and there are lots of movies that I really like that have romance as a central theme. But when it isn't handled properly and/or when there's too much of it, the results are disastrous, and everything becomes unbearable. K-dramas, or whatever the fuck they're called. K-dramas are so cliché. They usually involve a young woman in her 20s who falls in love with a mysterious guy, a villainous mother-in-law that opposes the young woman, and the drama ending with either the woman getting some form of cancer or having to migrate to another country like the US. With the lockdown, my mom and sis are going through an absurd amount of K-dramas on Netflix. I swear to God, every single one of them has the same plot. The male lead is always this super perfect guy with looks, wealth, talent, influence, and someone already romantically interested in him. Or female lead somehow always ends up in the guy's circle, either via employment, an ex, or car accident. Both will initially dislike each other and have absolutely nothing in common, but through the magic of prolonged stares, they fall in love. Then guy's former love interest, arranged marriage, jealous ex, will find some dirt on the girl to sabotage their budding romance. But guy's evil mom turns out to not be so evil after all, and sides with girl lead due to the short bonding moments they had. Blah blah blah. They either end up together or not, depending on how independent woman the writers made the female lead, or end up with a longtime best friend that always loved her but was placed in the friend zone. Since Ep 1, musicals or romance, jump scare horror, gory films. I can't watch that torture business. War, military glorification movies, frat films with Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly, Ben Stiller, Amy Schumer, Tina Fey, and the Monsieur. Even if you're high AF, they're still stupid. Comedies that rely too heavily on cliches like really stupid, quirky or absurd characters with odd jokes and unrealistic plot points. When young on cable past 23 p.m., some channels would air those old soft porn movies, but they aren't really porn.
just a poor-writed romance with slow jazz music. F*** those softcore smut. Ah, Skinamax. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.